Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Career Corner podcast. I'm your season 5 host, Malcolm Alexander, and I am so excited because on today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Susan Allen from Ithaca's Department of the Environment. Thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Allen.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's fun to talk to you again.
Yeah, this is so good. To start us off, I'd love to just have you describe what your current roles here at IC are so far, and tell me a little bit about how you got to these roles.
You got it. I was hired by IC in 1998, before there was a Department of the Environment, before there was an environmental studies major. And at that time, the college had decided that it needed to develop a major in environmental studies. And so I was the first program coordinator for the environmental studies program. And as we grew, it became clear that we were better off being a department than we were being an interdisciplinary program. And so we became a department, and I was the chair of it at the beginning. And then my colleagues have been chair of the department since then. And now I'm back to being chair again. So I'm the chair of the department and a professor here, and I teach a variety of courses and do some research, and have taken students abroad into a variety of places over the years.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know that chair position can kind of change a lot within a lot of different departments. I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the you're teaching, maybe some classes that you really love to teach the most, and some of the trips that you've taken students on.
I love all the classes that I teach, which is a really nice feeling to have, although they're very different. They're so different. So one of the classes that I teach is a 200 level required class for major called Critical Skills. And it is very intense. There's a lot of work, and it's designed to reflect if you're in an environmental consulting firm and you get a project handed in the door. How do you handle that? What do you have to do? Who are your stakeholders? How are you going to frame that project? What do you have to know as background information? Do you have to do some research? Maybe survey some people, maybe collect some data from the environment. And then you have to take this project to a public meeting and present it and say, here are some options of what we could do with this problem, whether it's an invasive species or putting solar panels on Amazon warehouses, or figuring out whether roads should be put in wild areas. So the students have projects that are all over the map. And so the end, they have to present the project at a public meeting, a fictitious public meeting with just us, and describe everything and what their solutions are and why one is better than another. So it really takes students through all the important steps of becoming a functional environmental professional in the real world. And I think for me, that is a really fun course to teach because of the delayed gratification when students write me the next summer or 5 years later and say, boy, I am so glad I took that class. It came in really handy when I was interviewed for this job, or when my boss asked me this and I was producing professional reports. Thank you for teaching me how to do things professionally. So I love teaching that class, although it's really can be a grind for the students. And then I teach another class that is sort of interesting and particular to the environmental science department. That's part of an intensive. So we have these paired classes where students have to take 2 classes that are related to each other in the same semester. So it's 7 or 8 credits. And those intensive pairings are on topics like water or food or technology or forests. And the 2 professors teaching the 2 different classes come at it from a different angle, but in a way that relates to each other. So I teach one of those classes on water pollution, where the professor of the other course focuses on water as a resource and its distribution globally, in terms of are we running out of water? What's going on politically with water, where I'm talking about water quality. And so that's really fun to be working with another professor, but also with the same students across both classes, so that it's kind of a pretty intense experience. Mm-hmm. So I love teaching both of them. Mm-hmm. And the other few that I teach.
Yeah, I can absolutely see how getting to teach these really, really intensive and sort of solutions-based, real-world focused classes could be really fun, both for, maybe a little bit tough on students, but a really great experience to sink your hands into the field and really get that good practical hands-on thinking experience and learning experience. And I know
Right.
that outside, oh no, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say our tagline as a department is hands-on learning, real-world impact.
Mhm.
Like if we were to define what we do in 6 words, those would be what we say we do.
I would say that's a pretty perfect mantra for the department, considering that I know that outside of class, there's also the IC EcoTalks lab, which you are in charge of. Could you tell me a little bit about what that is and what some of the research that you guys do in this?
Sure. I'm a toxicologist by training, and I'm specifically an environmental toxicologist. So a straight up toxicologist might do like forensic toxicology and try and figure out why somebody died. An environmental toxicologist is trying to identify the pollutants that are in the environment and how that might affect non-humans. So how does it affect the ecology of Cuba Lake, for example, is what I study. And so the EcoTox lab is, again, hands-on learning with real-world impact. What are the contaminants of concern in our area, and can we identify whether they're having environmental impacts? The Ecotox lab is one of 6 different labs within the environmental science department. And so we focus specifically on toxicology in this area. So I've worked on everything from pharmaceuticals in Cuba Lake, microplastics in the area, in the snow and in the rain. And now we're focusing more on tire wear particles as a subset of microplastics and forever chemicals, the PFAS compounds, which have been found in drinking water across the United States and can be very toxic.
And I know you've mentioned this a little bit already, but I'm sure that giving students the opportunity to really sink their teeth into these real world issues and start researching them and start looking at solutions is really a great opportunity for these students later down the road when they're looking into their future careers. Have you heard back from any grad students, any former students that have said the work that I got to do was super helpful? This was super great.
Yes, for sure. A number of the students have gone on to grad school in environmental toxicology, even at my alma mater, the Oregon State University, which is kind of fun. And now they work for environmental consulting companies that are looking at PFAS contamination for the Department of Defense, for example, or looking at identifying different forever chemicals than the list that we already have. In addition to just to going to grad school or not, they end up really applying what they learn in my lab in the jobs that they have once they graduate, for sure.
That's awesome. It's great to hear that the work that you guys are doing here, which is so great, gets to actually extend outside into the broader world. And it's clear that, if you are a student of the environmental sciences, part of your goal, part of what's probably fueling you is this want to help, this want to make some sort of change, make some sort of see something better going on. And so if you were to speak to a young student here at IC who maybe is unsure of what exactly they'd like to study in college, or maybe is really new to the environmental sciences in general and isn't quite sure what exactly they'd like to do you have any advice for them about how they could go about learning more about the industry at large and sort of funneling down, maybe learning what they like to do into a future career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that my field in particular and environmental science in general is pretty interdisciplinary. It's pretty broad. So my first advice is to get broadly trained, take courses in different topics. So take biology, take chemistry, take physics, take policy so that you can come at these very complex environmental problems from a variety of angles and understand it. And the other one is to jump in. This is your playground as students to try to figure out what you're passionate about and what you hate, and to get some skills and learn by your mistakes. So just jump in and try some things, keep an open mind, and have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's with a lot of the guests that we speak to on this show, there's sort of a reoccurring theme of college is a time where you should just try as much as possible. You should really just stretch your arms out and see what you can do, see what you like to do, because that's exactly what these 4 or maybe more years are for. It's all about exploration and discovering more things about either the broader world and yourself or one or the other. So I think that's a really great point about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in some ways, in the ecotox lab, some of the stakes are pretty low if there's a mistake or something like that, maybe it costs a little bit of money, it costs a little bit of time, but I don't set anything up so that by trying something and having it not work, we've lost years of data or something like that. So it's a great opportunity to jump in and try. You won't get hurt.
Mhm. One of the sort of themes of this specific season of the Career Corner podcast that we've been talking about is sort of how is the rise of AI affecting various industries, and basically sort of trying to speak with these professionals and understand if they feel like the industry that they work in or the work that they do is being changed in any ways by artificial intelligence, partially to help students with peace of mind and partially just to learn more about sort of how the world is changing, how technology is changing. Do you have any sort of thoughts or comments on maybe how AI is infiltrating environmental sciences in that research, or just the environment at large?
That's a loaded question. In terms of AI and student training, I think that it's really important for students today to understand what AI is good for and what AI is not good for within any given profession. So AI is really great at putting information at your fingertips. AI is very bad at telling you what to do with the information that it put at your fingertips, right? So being able to think critically, to think holistically, and to figure out what to do and how to process the information that AI is putting at your fingertips is really important in classes, but also for people that are graduating from here. Yes, you can use AI to tell you the difference between, the conversion between milligrams to kilograms or something like that. But what do you do with that information? Do you have a sense of what a kilogram feels like in your hands? AI isn't really going to tell you that. And so I think that figuring out how to use AI to get the information that you need quickly is great. Save yourself some time on the research, but don't expect AI to do anything but give you information.
Mhm. I think that's a really great point about sort of the human aspect of you can visualize, you can feel these amounts much more than a machine can just throw these numbers out. Um,
Right. You have some sense like that doesn't make sense. There's no way that that answer is right
mhm.
because I know how much a kilogram feels like in my hands, or I know that there's no way that the population of the United States is 85 billion, right? I mean, like that's not right because the whole world is less than 9. So why did AI tell me it was 85? So if you don't have any common sense or any way to discriminate between what that information means and how you can use it, then I think we're going to go down a bad rabbit hole. To your other point, AI has tremendous environmental impacts. The energy demands of data centers is incredible. And it's a little bit frustrating as an individual that I feel like I can't avoid that global energy demand because I can't turn on my computer or my phone without having it use AI to do something. I can't really easily opt out of AI while still maintaining the internet or my smartphone or things like that. And so it's a little frustrating um, that we seem to have just bought in lock, stock, and barrel into the energy demands of this technology.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see that, you don't really get to check a box or anything, and agree to the terms of service when it comes to it. And you've echoed a lot of points that we've had other guests speak about when it comes to, the skills that you're developing in college as, critical thinking and just being able to use your human brain and your human intellect, are valuable skills no matter what industry you're going into. And that's really not going to go away because at the end of the day, these are humans that you're going to have to be dealing with probably for the rest of your life, hopefully for the rest of your life. So that human intellect and instinct is still deeply, deeply important. Um,
Right, for sure.
I would just like to ask you, I guess, one of our kind of closing-ish questions. What do you think makes IC's Department of the Environment sort of interesting or cool or um, a really great resource for students who are interested in a field in the environmental sciences?
I think to go back to that hands-on learning, real world impact, almost all of our classes involve hands-on learning, whether it's gardening or making maple syrup or managing the natural lands or going out and collecting field samples. for these contaminants that I'm looking at, to setting up an aquaponics system and growing both plants with fish, so we're very much about that sort of hands-on learning. We also have a tremendous community just among ourselves. We like to have fun with the learning process, with our classes, with our students. And I think that is actually pervades all of IC. To me, Ithaca College is a place with really real people that are just down to earth and being their authentic selves, and showing up that way all the time. And it allows us to just build relationships and maintain those relationships over a lifetime. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I know that I can attest to the fact that, I mean, outside of the sort of insular community of the Department of the Environment, there's a lot of cross-department communication that goes on campus. I know that I've worked on projects that have looked at some of the work that's going on in the department. I know friends that have worked on film projects that have looked at things that are going on in the department. So I know that there's just a ton of collaboration, and that whole campus community is definitely felt and emphasized. So I think that's awesome.
We love it.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Allen, for speaking with us today. I think we got to talk about some really interesting things, got some interesting insight for our students and our other listeners. And yeah, thank you all for listening to another episode of the Career Corner podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow Career Corner on Instagram and Spotify to stay up to date with future releases. If you're interested in posing some more cozy career cues, or in checking out the Career Closet, Headshot Booth, and all the other cool resources available, feel free to stop by drop-in hours at the Center for Career Exploration and Development in Miller Faculty Center 101 from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Career Corner podcast.